horror movie fans, welcome to Cold and Trash Horror Movie Grinding Podcast. I am your host, Ian. This is the show in which we grind on the absolute worst horror and sci-fi movies we can find and make fun of just how bad they are, as well as praise the good cult classics that have been lost throughout time. Now get ready, because we're about to dive real deep inside of Hollywood's dumpster in search of the good, the so bad it's good, and the fucking ugly. Now put on your seatbelt, grab a beer or two, and enjoy the show. Hey everybody, thanks for joining Cult and Trash Horror Movie Grind podcast. I am Ian, and this is episode 0, actually. Very first episode. Will be about an introductory episode, just talking about what the show's about. Basically, like the introduction said, we are making fun of the bad horror movies that I don't know, trash cinema, so bad it's good kind of stuff. Just the terrible stuff that you just like can't help but laugh at. Or we also talk about good cult classic movies. Basically, you know, bad is it's different for everybody. So what we find to be bad, other people might find to be good movies. And well, most of the time, probably movies that we find enjoyable and that we like, other people probably hate. So it'll just be like that. It'll be interesting, but most likely it'll be making fun of bad trash movies. But anyway, I've got some friends with me tagging along. Basically every episode I'll have different guests on, and then I'll also have reoccurring guests. And today I've got some people with me that will probably be in most episodes. So I guess I'll go ahead and bring them out. I have one buddy of mine who we go and watch these movies and make fun of them together. So I brought him along with podcast. Sloane is here. What's up, Sloane?
How to do, y'all? Thank you very much for introducing me, Ian.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks
as you said, we go out and we check out movies so bad they're good and campy horror. And you know, a few weeks ago we went and we checked out The Stuff in theaters. And
The Stuff played in a movie theater, and we were both like, "Well, we gotta go to that." Like, fuck any new movie that's playing, and fuck COVID. We will risk our lives to go see The Stuff, a movie that came out in the 80s. A bad movie that came out in the 80s.
So bad it's good. It's got some pretty campy pieces.
So, I mean, it's enjoyable for us, and there are definitely parts that we like to make fun of. Actually, let me ask you, before I bring out the other two guys, what do you find enjoyable about these movies? I guess the cult classics, or just bad movies in general, campy movies, and also like what was the first movie that like got you into it, that got you hooked into these?
So one of the first movies that got me into generally the horror classic items, especially from the 80s, Critters. It messed me up for life when I was a child and watched it. And I literally had nightmares that, first you're running from them, and then next thing you know, like they're evolving in the dreams. And it's just like, you can never get over a Critters sensation. But as for your question about what makes these movies so fun to go to, is you're not just, it's not just clap scare horror like some of these newer movies out there, to where it's just like they throw a cat out of like a dark hallway and make it shriek. Some of these movies,
that's what's actually really bad.
Right,
that's bad.
But with the cinematography, as well as the scores that come with a lot of these movies, and especially the special effects, they were all natural and done physically, and that's what really moves my soul when I watch a lot of these movies.
Yeah, cool. Well, we'll continue with that after I introduce the others. So before I introduce the other two, this YouTube channel is Infamous Horror, which originally comes from a Facebook page called same name, Infamous Horror. So it got so popular that they've created a YouTube channel and podcast with many different shows. This one is just one show, but there's also many others. There, like one is like women in horror and like scream queens, and another one is top 666. And it's all just horror related. So this is the bad movie version, bad movie and cult. But the reason why what I'm trying to bring up though is also on Facebook. I run a Facebook group called "Movies So Bad They're Good: Midnight Cult Classics at Camp." I'll probably write that down for y'all. But I'm an admin in that. I created it. It's got 38,000 people in it. But I brought so it's called "Movies So Bad They're Good: Midnight Cult Classics in Camp." So and it's the same thing that we're doing here, just in podcast form. And I brought a couple of my admins with me, so I'll bring them in. We got Bree and Daniel. What's up, guys?
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thanks for joining. So, like I said, three of us we admin that group together. So, this is what we talk about on a daily discussion or a daily basis. So, like I said, the three of these plus another guy who's running late, they will pretty much be joining me on most episodes. I'll have different guests each episode, but also like a rotation of guests. So these will be the most reoccurring. But like I asked Sloane, what I guess brought y'all into the so bad it's good and cult genre? What movie got you hooked, and just what do y'all enjoy most about it? Whoever wants to go first.
You can go ahead, Daniel.
Oh, I didn't even point the right way, so I guess you got to do
Pointed
it.
to the
right
wrong
there.
person. Or are you pointing to nobody?
Well, I have to give a quick shout out to The Room, just because that's how I met Ian originally.
Well, yeah.
We were members of a Room movie group, and
another Facebook group.
did some watch parties, and decided that ultimately all of what was going on for Facebook wasn't for us, and we decided that we had a lot more to talk about than just one movie in one genre, and wanted to bring the whole "it is so bad it's good" movie genre into play out into our Facebook group. So Ian started it up. I was one of his first moderators, and went into admin really quick after that, and we've just had a really good time over the last year and a half, I think now, 2 years maybe. We've had a really good time growing and expanding the group, and having a fun time watching movies and discussing all sorts of movies together. Outside of The Room, which is obviously not in the horror genre unless you really feel that poorly for Tommy Wiseau. I think one of the things that got me into the bad movie genre was Mystery Science Theater 3000. So I was watching these episodes growing up on the Comedy Channel.
That's on back your shirt, when it was by the way.
Comedy Channel. Yep. So that's far. But I started out that way. I was with friends in elementary school, and we would watch bad movies that we would rent from Blockbuster, and we just loved it when we would find a ripoff of a movie that we all knew the title to. I remember seeing the original Alien versus Predator back when it was not licensed and had nothing to do with aliens or predators. And
oh wow,
it was just a piece of abysmal trash, and we loved it. And after that, we couldn't help but watch a whole bunch of other movies like that. We watched the Evil Dead trilogy in reverse, starting with Army of Darkness, and we just always wanted to see campy, trashy, fun movies. And along that journey, we would find some really, really, really good gems of horror or suspense or other just crazy movies that ended up in the cult genre that other people didn't appreciate, but we had a special appreciation for them. So it was just built into me from a young age with my friend group. And I still keep in contact with those guys today. And we still have a great time watching and talking about bad movies.
And a lot of them are in the Movies So Bad They're Good Facebook group too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get back into that later. Bree, how about you?
Yeah, hey, how's it going? Also go by the Breton Wrecker. Shout out to the last podcast. So I think the reason why we enjoy these particular genre is the fact that it's fun to enjoy with others. It kind of becomes this social experience, because if you watch it by yourself, you're just kind of like, But if you watch it with other people, then it becomes like an enjoyable experience. We do what we do now, aka we start to riff on it, and it becomes a lot of fun. As to what got me into the genre, just like Daniel, it started with Mystery Science Theater 3000. So I'm also wearing a shirt that kind of relates. So in the new season, they cover Mac and Me. And so I'm wearing the Mac and Me, but Rosemary's Baby. And on top of that, I used to grow up watching the Sci-Fi Channel with my dad. So, Sharktopus, Lake Placid.
Oh yeah.
Those movies that I thought they were really fun and goofy. And so I just wanted to get to know more movies like that. I was very fortunate to discover the movies So Bad They're Good. I kind of came on, I think, 6 months after the group was created. So I came in a little bit later. But it's been an absolute blast. And it's opened my eyes toward even more movies that I could have never found before.
So everybody go ahead and join Movies So Bad They're Good, Midnight Cult Classics in Camp. But of course, this is Infamous Horror as well. They're the ones presenting this. So if you're not already, I guess, following them, go to Infamous Horror. As for myself, I think I was in about middle school when I discovered Troll 2 for the first time. And yeah, that just like kind of changed my life. Basically, I was like, "What is this? This is so bad," but I can't stop laughing at it. And then right after that, I saw Evil Dead 2, and that was like the nail in the coffin. Like, and it's like this is supposed to be terrifying, but it's so funny. And so yeah, and then when I was like 20, 21, I just be up all night, getting drunk, making fun of bad movies with my roommates. Yeah, Bree actually mentioned a previous podcast. That's also Movies So Bad They're Good, Midnight Cult Classics in Camp, that we all did together. And up until pretty much the producers of this show, Infamous Horror, reached out to me and said that they want me to host a Movies So Bad They're Good show on here. So so I sold out real quick. And so we're doing this. It's the same thing, but this one's just going to be horror and sci-fi centered only. And the other previous one, we were doing all genres. Anyway, check that out. Also, check out my friend Seth's podcast, Who's Next? He got me started with the Movie So Bad They're Good podcast. So him and I, we started that together, and it grew quite a bit. And he had to step out, unfortunately, but he has his own podcast, Who's Next? So check that out. That's for gaming, video games, like Marvel movies and superhero comics, stuff like that. So if you're into that, check that out. I guess let's go back into the same like bad movie, low budget. What do y'all think? Apart from your own opinions, like why do you think like these are so much more interesting? I guess for us, I mean, not a lot of people are into this kind of thing, but what do you think it is about like laughing at poorly made movies or movies that I guess a good idea but a bad script and low budget, too low of a budget to really make it through? Like, why do we still enjoy them?
Do we raise our hands for this? Or
just go. You're in it. All right, Daniel, what's up?
I think that it is the complete opposite of a blockbuster. In a blockbuster movie, you are meant to stay silent, starting from when you arrive in the parking lot until you get into the movie theater and throughout the duration of the entire movie. Anybody who's gone ahead and seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is billed as a horror movie, but is obviously not, you can say whatever you want from the time that you start going into the movie to the end of the movie, and there's no spoilers. You are discouraged from speaking when you go to a blockbuster, discouraged from spoiling things. The social aspect that comes from seeing a so bad that it's good movie is the best. You want to share it with everybody. It no longer has to be with that big screen. You can go ahead and watch it in a drive-in. You can go ahead and watch it like I do at the local planetarium. You can watch it in a Facebook group with friends. Well, you could, at least. You can't anymore. You can watch it on a Discord server. You can watch it in the living room on a tiny bubble TV if you've got one still on the VHS, and it loses none of its charm. It's absolutely amazing to experience this with your friends, and I think the excitement level that you feel in wanting to share this and to talk over the movie, to have your favorite parts, to share your favorite parts, instantly becomes just so much more personal. It becomes part of your personality where you find yourself quoting your favorite movies when you're out with friends that aren't necessarily into it and they don't get anything. I can't shout at the garbage guy that comes by the complex and say, "It's garbage day," and have him have any clue what the heck I'm talking about. It's not going to happen. You can't, like, it becomes extremely personal. And I think that that's the best part. Talking over the movies was something that we were trained to like. Well, Bree and I, at least, I'm not sure about you guys, but we learned that it was fun and it was fine. And it was okay to start ruining movies for other people because it was about the experience, not about the plot.
Yeah.
But may or may not be there.
Garbage day!
Yeah, there it is.
No!
Yeah. Exactly. That's what he was talking about. All right. What about you, Sloane? Same question. Why do you think it's such a great genre for all people? Actually, before you answer that, I have to agree with Daniel. Yeah, it's about talking and stuff. Like, it's a party, basically. It's fun to join in, like you were saying, and yeah, especially if you ever go to the room. Again, that's not a horror, but yeah, actually, Tony and I, Tony's not here yet, but this past weekend we went to Dallas, a 3-hour drive, just to go see a screening of The Room. And we actually got to hang out with Greg Sestero afterwards. It was a great time. But like during the screening, the reason why we drove 3 hours is to yell out jokes and quotes and throw spoons and stuff. But yeah, Sloane, same question to you.
So I'm gonna first reach out about the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I definitely see that more as a divine comedy, but more of a humanized form.
That's even a better, better example. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I definitely agree with everything that Daniel said. Pretty much with all these other movies that are coming out that are blockbusters, like if people try to nitpick it during what's happening, like people are just going to get pissed off. But you know, they're more of a it's more open emotionally and I guess consciously with these lower budget movies, because you do actually feel a lot more of the warmth. And I love the way that that you specified with if you've got the old tube TVs and just feel the warmth aspect from that, because we've got walls and walls of VHS here at my house, and a bunch of them are usually I don't know, probably between 40s through the 80s, and so got a lot of really great movies. But we always go back to those rather than getting a digitally remastered form. It's just something iconic about it, and the nostalgia. Like
definitely love nostalgia.
Listening to the crackle and grain.
Yeah. I love it. And the little line on the bottom of the screen.
Actually, adjust tracking. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I just be hanging out and you'd be like, yeah, we're watching this. You have no say in the matter. I would bring over movies. I remember bringing over Repo Man to your house and 4 rooms and a few of those.
Yeah, I remember introducing everybody to Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Is just like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, Sloane's house. That was the house to watch a bunch of movies and
among other things.
Yeah. Bree, how about you?
So Sloane kind of briefly touched on it, like why these are more enjoyable is the fact that because they don't have that really high budget, that kind of gives them this room to be a little bit more creative, if you will, with their special effects. So you've got the terrible costumes, you've got bad dialogue. It's just like the worst of the worst. And you're going to go in with like the lowest standards. So, you can't be disappointed And then B, again, like wrapping back to that social aspect, it just becomes a good fun time. So
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
that's why it's just more enjoyable. You got low expectations. You're not waiting for, like Sloane said, that jump scare. You're just like, I'm expected to laugh. That's it.
Yeah, I think Daniel said that. I believe.
Oh shoot, was it? I'm sorry.
No, the jump
Yeah.
scare was
Oh
me.
no, Sloan had the jump
Was
scare.
it?
for
Oh,
sure.
my
okay.
bad.
I was like,
My
oh
bad.
no.
Okay.
Editor, edit that out. We'll get it out of post. And man, for a guy who's fucking late as shit, he came in at the most perfect time possible. Tony's here.
There he is.
Oh, in the flesh, in the
Could
screen.
not have come at a better time. Like that was
Perfect.
perfect because we just all wrapped up like like a whole thing.
Hello.
Okay, so what I asked everybody was what's your opinion on bad movies, cult films, low budget movies that, like, I don't know, could have had a good idea but it was like really bad script or cast or just all the above. Also, what movie got you into this genre? What hooked you?
I mean, geez, I don't know. I think it's probably, what probably got me into it was probably like good good bad stuff. Like, honestly, like, I was raised on one of the first movies I ever saw was like a good horror movie, The Exorcist, right?
Right.
So like that, I saw that when I was like 2 or 3. It was like one of my first movies I ever saw. Yeah. And like, so like I started really high, right?
That explains a lot.
Right? Yeah. What the fuck happened? And
All downhill from there.
So like, I started with good horror movies, but it was like, honestly, what got me into bad horror was good horror, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like Tales from the Crypt, I saw that really young, and that reminded me of like, and then that got me into like what that was kind of parodying, which is kind of like, Creepshow and stuff like that. Even though Creepshow, once again, is awesome, it's not really bad. But it's kind of like that 50s like B horror.
It's debatable, which is the whole point of the show.
I love me some Creepshow. I love that was one of the first like I guess you could call that bad, but I think that's kind of going for that like B movie style though. So it's kind of like it's debatable.
So so I was just pretty much introducing everybody to we're pretty much on the same bandwidth. For me personally, it's like I think that these, I mean, they're all different. There's the movies that are good but low budget, may not have done well with critics and the box office and stuff, but over time they gathered a good cult following, which we'll be covering those. But mostly the movies we'll be covering on this podcast will be actual trash that we find funny. And a mix between the two. It's like everything in between. So I mean, there's movies like, okay, so you brought up Creepshow, which will actually be the first movie that we will review next week. But yeah, so the reason why I say that's debatable is because many reasons. Like one, and we'll go over this in that episode. But for me personally, it's dated. It's very dated. And it's a strong script by a strong horror writer, Stephen King. And but the I guess the budget isn't too great. And the effects are, I mean, the effects were Tom Savini, but at the same time, it's kind of cheesy. It's like you can't take it as seriously as other horror movies, but like for me, that's what's enjoyable. Like Evil Dead 2 and Troll 2, those were the ones that I first picked up on. Like they're supposed to be scary, but they're just not, and it's funny instead. And I find these movies to be funnier than actual comedies that are meant to be funny. It depends on them. So, Tony, you've been on the set of some low budget movies. I guess tell us about that. Pretty much what you got out of that.
Well, I was gonna say, it's hard for me, it's hard for me to judge, when a movie goes, because I've been on a lot of low budget. and a lot of low budget horror sets as well, but a lot of low budget sets in general. So it's hard for me to judge when movies can't afford to be good. You know, like whenever they have a good idea, but they just don't have the funds necessary. I have like a soft spot in my heart for movies like that. You know, that like clearly have like a high concept idea, but like just are like don't have the means to make it like what they want. I mean, like you're talking about Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2 is a great example of like a micro budget movie, especially Evil Dead 1. It's like a no budget, and they literally, they made what they made, and you could argue, yeah, it's weird calling it like, oh, it's like a bad movie. It's not a bad movie, but it's clearly like, working with some pretty severe limitations, right? And so that can lead to some pretty funny and some pretty entertaining moments. I think that's where a lot of my favorite like bad horror stuff comes from, where it's like there's a really cool nugget of something awesome in there, and then they just can't get to it, and being on a set where everyone's really jazzed, like oh man, like in Evil Dead 2, like the monster thing, that comes out like a giant neck and everything, like that. Like if you look at the behind the scenes of that, it looks like a fucking nightmare. Like Raimi in the suit, like they talk about how it's like at the end of the day they drain the leg of the suit and just sweat would pour out,
right.
Shit like that is like on every horror set. There's always like behind every cool gag, there's like 6 dudes, sweaty people underneath somebody like doing, like for instance, I was in a movie called My Sucky Teen Romance, which is it's a movie, and there's a gag in it where dude gets, it's about vampires, dude gets staked, and we shot it at a hotel, like a currently being used hotel. It all takes place in the hotel, and so we couldn't get anything, and this happens a lot. If you rent a place, you can't get the place messy, right? So it's like there's fucking plastic sheeting on everything that's not in the shot. There's like, you can't get anything messing with blood. You can't, I can't fucking, like building your own set is like a nightmare. So yeah, we had to we just rented a hotel. And, it's shit like that, like every time I watch a bad horror movie, I think about all the poor ass people that were like, that had to be covered in shit or, in like sticky blood for like hours, or they had to like, sit there, anytime someone gets ripped in half in a movie, I love people who get ripped in half in movies because they have to fucking sit there with their body in a hole with the shit, like in the weird. Like every time I see somebody get cut in half or ripped in half in a movie, I'm like, that's a trooper. That's a trooper right there. He's probably there for like 8 hours, sitting there like this, like. So low budget horror movies are like the funnest shit to film for me, but a lot of people like that's probably fucking torture to a lot of people. But like,
yeah, I can see that.
That's the shit I live for. I love that. Yeah, I got ripped. I was in a movie called Pathogen when I was like 13, and I got disemboweled in it. But
nice.
they and I had to lay on the ground. I wasn't in a hole, but like they just put me on the floor and just put some like pig guts next to me.
Do you think that's on YouTube? Can we look that up?
Pathogen? Probably. I know that it's I'm sure it is, honestly. I don't know who owns it at this point. It was very independent. That was a fucking micro budget movie. It took us like a year to make. That's the thing though. That's what's great about horror though, is that anyone can make horror, which means that it is both the most versatile and most kind of abused genre. Because everyone fucks with it, like everybody fucks with horror eventually, and I love that. Like it is kind of in the net for if you were an auteur, you kind of make a stop there.
All right, well, let's go on and talk about the show. So like I said, it's going to be mostly movie reviews of shitty movies or good cult classics. Definitely, a good mix of the two. Hollywood's dumpster, basically, like I said in the intro. Because like these movies, while we enjoy them, there are lots of people who hate them, who think that movies like They Live are like just crap. But we all love them.
it should be noted that pretty much every horror movie has like a 60% or some shit on Rotten Tomatoes, like no matter how good or bad it is. Like because it's like Roger Ebert, like as cool as Roger Ebert, he fucking hates horror movies. So like every horror movie got like an
exactly. And then everybody just was, well, he said that, so of course it's crap.
Yeah.
And but like I have friends who like look back at movies like Evil Dead or just a lot of 80s and 70s movies, Texas Chainsaw Massacre and stuff like that. They're like, oh, this didn't age well. This sucks. This is trash because it doesn't look good. And so basically, we're digging them out of Hollywood's dumpster, and we're bringing them back to new light, as well as making fun of the bad ones. That if they're bad, we make fun of them. If they're good, we'll talk about why they're good. So basically, how the episodes will come out is a lot of reviewers, like podcasters, that they talk about the whole movie. That they go from the beginning, explain all the way to the end, kind of make fun of it. Not so much this one. We will basically be pointing out the parts that stick out to us the most, mostly the parts that we find like good standout acting scenes or scenes. If there's a lot of blood and guts, we'll talk about that and whatnot. And then we'll just mostly go on to talk about what stands out the most, and then we will just have some fun with it. I'll give you all a prompt basically, and then you'll for example, like if we're talking about The Thing or something, I'll say what would be a good sequel to that, or remake, or just something that just comes out of imagination. Then we'll give it a rating. The rating system will be out of 10, but instead of like stars or whatnot, it'll be whatever sticks out in that movie. So like if it's Evil Dead, we'll be like, I rate it like 9 severed hands or something like that. So just to make it fun. Now, I was going to ask you all a question, and I totally forgot about it. Why don't y'all give like your top 5 favorite bad movies, and then top 5 good low budget cult classics? Bree, we'll start with you.
All right. So as far as movies so bad they're good in the horror genre, so a lot of mine are going to be pretty like stereotypical. So obviously Trill 2, huge fan of it. It was really awesome to interview some of the cast members with you. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, which we played with the Garbage Day. God, that was pretty terrible. Some other deviants, Jason X. I just think it's totally surreal and amazing that they sent Jason to space to do the same exact thing but in space.
Yeah, well, every horror movie, if it has enough sequels, you gotta send them to space.
Yeah, I mean, even Sharknado made it to space, so I mean, there's hope for us all.
Is that true?
That's true. Yes.
Wow.
True. Yeah, that is true. So there's hope for everyone watching this that we can make it to space one day. So Birdemic, Shock and Terror. Oh my God, this is so much fun. And then finally, this one's also free on YouTube. It's called Swamp Ape. It's kind of like a Bigfoot in the swamps, but it plays like on every single stereotype. Bigfoot punches this girl's head off. It's amazing. Check it out. Nice. It's amazing.
That sounds wonderful.
As far as good low budget, so maybe this will be like debatable. Like you said, this will be debatable if it's good or not. So with that, we've mentioned Evil Dead, definitely within my top 5. Another one called The Void. It's a 2016 film, and it's very John Carpenter-esque. Definitely plays on a lot of themes with that. Very fun. Night of the Living Dead. I think that's what initially got me really into the genre of good movies. I think it's a classic. Dead Alive, amazing film. The one-liners just fantastic.
Right.
And finally, Creep. I think that was so horrifying. Just a small amount of actors, camcorder, and you could make a masterpiece like that. I just thought it was really impressive.
Nice. That's all you got?
That is my top 5 in each category.
All right. Sounds good. Daniel, how about yourself?
Well, Bree got a few of the movies that I've got in my top 5 from each of those categories, but they're a little bit mixed up, which is kind of fun. I think I'll start with some of the more serious movies, just because Bree mentioned one of them that I really enjoy, which is The Void. And I think that's very underrated. And it is the last movie and the only movie in about 10 years previous to that actually scared me while I was watching it. I thought that was a really fun one to see in theaters. It didn't go so much with the shock scares or body horror, which I'm not a big fan of either one of those, and so much went into like the creepy and the weird, and you got to appreciate that. Also, I'm a physical effects person. You'll notice that with the whole rest of my list. So
I also noticed that. Sorry to interrupt. I also noticed that about your bookshelf.
Yeah. There's a few things left over from my special effects department days, so I've got a few fun souvenirs from there. But yeah, The Thing, obviously, from the 80s is one of those movies that had cool Lovecraftian special effects that were just so much fun, and it blows away both the previous version of it and the next version of it. So I feel like that's really got to fit into those cult classics, especially considering how much money it lost in theaters. Just there's no good reason for it to be quite so repressed. I really love Ravenous. I think the whole Wendigo myth is just amazing, or legend, not myth. Excuse me. I feel like that it's just a really fun take on the idea of zombies, but instead of brainlessness, you basically get power. You know, by eating the flesh of people, you gain their power. Sort of pulling in a fun Highlander sort of twist to it. I love The Stuff. You guys mentioned that you had seen that just this last week, which is great for me because I can't wait to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely cover that. I right now I have a huge list in my head of movies that we need to cover like ASAP, and that's definitely
you can definitely count me in for that one.
Yeah,
it's very close towards the top of my favorites.
Nice.
Even though the director did not want it to be considered to be a horror movie, it was still billed as one and re-edited to be one. So that's always fun. And on the opposite end of that, this is going to be the most controversial thing I say all night, but I want to go with Alien 2.
Oh,
not the original. Yes.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Aliens. And I love it specifically because it was an overhyped version of something that they wanted to make into action from a horror movie. And as much as I love the original Alien, it was a successful and just plain out good movie. I find Alien 2 to just be the schlockiest, most amazing pile of crap that you can watch, and I think that actually makes it underrated, because it's so much fun and it doesn't fit the genre at all, but you could still watch it in a horror movie marathon and no one's gonna blink an eye.
What's Sloane got here? What do you
I
got
have
there?
the Aliens novelizations.
Oh, nice.
So the movie is already fantastic enough as is, but once you go through the full paperbacks or like the full scriptures, like they've got at least like 9 different Alien novelizations.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
And there's a lot of graphic novels from like the 80s too, but that's not what Daniel's talking about though. Daniel's talking about something completely different, right? Alien 2. Alien 2 and Aliens are not the same movie.
With the other things that Bree mentioned, though, I've got my other category, which is movies that are so bad they're good. And I still agree with her on Evil Dead and on Brain Dead, but I've just got to go with They're So Bad They're Good. I do not think that the effects aged very well. I think they're incredibly fun. They're really good physical effects, but I think that most people, even watching then, are going to notice the level of camp that was thrown into these movies. Maybe the original Evil Dead, you won't notice so much of the camp, but man, did Raimi and Campbell understand the that market that they had there, and they just went for it. So for me, being younger, when I watched the Evil Dead trilogy backwards, starting with Army of Darkness, the camp part is what stands out to me. And Brain Dead is it's got so many cringy and silly moments that you just can't. I just can't take it in an underrated movie. I think it's rated exactly where it should be, which is most people probably don't want to watch it, but I love it.
Right.
I do want to go with a newer one that goes along the same lines. I'm a huge Gwar fan, and so watching a movie like Psycho Goreman, I thought was
yes.
We're going to do that one.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's something to rave about in the gore genre and in the stupid kid movie genre where you would really love your kids to get the crap eaten out of them. This is one of those movies. The awesome practical effects, the amount of gore, the campiness is just amazing, and they really encapsulated it in this whole movie.
Definitely.
In the straight up like bad old movies, one of the ones that really caught my attention that doesn't have so much to do with Mystery Science Theater, which took almost everything off of my list that I would have otherwise put in there, is The X from Outer Space, in which it was just another gigantic kaiju ripoff movie, accepting the fact that everybody in it is so wimpy the whole time, and they end up defeating the monster with bubble bath, and it is just one of those sit-throughs that, like, when you actually get to that climax where they're fighting and they're killing off this monster, you're like, oh my god, it is just really dirty, and you just need to kill him with bubble bath. It's so sad. And I just love it for that reason. My last two I was really torn on, and I decided to put both of them in there. I chose two things that were going for different sorts of genres that both kind of failed at it and ended up being really funny instead. I went with Starship Troopers, which is definitely meant to be like a horror style movie, but on a whole different front. It's meant to be more of a dramatic horror movie, but the camp just wins. The camp wins in it, and it makes it being just this special effects crap fest that is not at all like the practical effects that I normally love, but just the acting and all of the melodrama and all of what they thought was supposed to be fun but ended up just being horrendous overacting was wonderful. And right along the same lines, I'm going with Tales from the Hood, one of the few movies that has really offended me in a very long time. And I remember seeing this when my brother was in high school, and my parents decided to rent it for a school, like I think it was a swim team sort of movie thing, and they just thought it would be like some sort of cheesy horror movie, and it was so upsetting that like nobody could handle it after that. Like not my parents, not any of the other parents, nobody. And I still think that it hasn't aged well at all, and there are so many ripoffs of it, so many sequels, so many different things, but nothing catches that original cringe factor that makes it really enjoyable to watch. But it still catches on some great horror elements. They've got some really horrific things in there that hit really hard. It's just that cheese level, it makes it so bad it's good.
Yeah, for sure. Sloane, how about you? Kind of touch on it briefly. We're just for time, but
no worries.
What are yours?
So for my lower budget horror films, my first two are actually both about subterranean dwellers in the sewer systems. So my first one is the one from the 80s, Alligator. And so there's the giant alligator that when it was a baby was flushed down the toilet and grew to incredible sizes. And this one guy ends up, or I guess police officer ends up trying to fight his way against this monstrosity. But there's this one point where there's this bum in the alleyway, and he's talking to like the paramedics, and he's just like, "He used my friend as a toothpick." And that's always stuck with me, like throughout the ages, and just like I love this movie. But so my other subterranean sewer one is Cannibalistic Humanoid Underground Dwellers, Chud.
Yes.
And I forget his name off the top of my head right now, but one of the thieves from Home Alone, the taller one, he's one of the homeless guys in that movie. He's like the main homeless man. So I've always loved that one. You know, radiological transmogrification of the dwellers underneath the city streets and turn into these cannibalistic horrors. So really great.
Hey,
man, all my things seem to be like below ground. There's this one movie. It's called Cellar Dweller. This is my third one, and the main actor from Reanimator is a he was an artist, and he creates this monster, and he disappears into the realm, and like I don't know, 10, 20 years goes by, and this other girl comes through and starts drawing the monster as well, and brings it back to life. But yeah, it's a pretty good one. Campy as hell. It's good and bad at the same time. Going into the Troma for my fourth one. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Rabid Grannies, but it's like The Howling, but instead of werewolves, it's demonic grandmothers that are just tearing people apart. So that's a really good one. That sounds
like Troma.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And then one that I've talked with Ian about, my fifth one for the lower budget camping, Skinned Deep, and it's pretty much a parody of. It came out the 2004, the year after House of a Thousand Corpses, and it's pretty much a parody going along those lines. But yeah, it's got its own really campy gore factor, and yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
We will definitely do that one. Probably our third or fourth movie we'll cover will probably be that one.
For the ones that enticed me through the years for good, relatively low budget, Critters, as I said before, has always been one of my favorites. These random little, cute little puppets that devour your insides and lay eggs, and they're here to not assimilate, but to just to munch on lunch. And in Critters 3, it's always fun that that's the first movie that Leo DiCaprio ever starred in. And so,
I love young actors in really bad movies. It's one of my favorite things to see, and it's a great little fun cameo to see.
And I definitely agreed with Bree on. So you said the Night of the Living Dead, which of course it's the full stem of it, but the one that always took my heart and soul was Day of the Dead. And to a lot of people, that's their least favorite. But once everything goes through and the full downfall, some of that gore is some of the best. And just you feel Bub and he's learning, and then all of a sudden it's stripped away because of some jerk of an alive human decided that he didn't like him enough. And so it's a good revenge story as well. So it's funny also because I put Tales from the Hood. And so, you beat me on that one. And along with the Tales from the Hood and the Creep Show, we were talking about, there were the series that dwelled on all those as well. I don't know if you guys remember Monsters. That used to be 30-minute segments, as well as Tales from the Dark Side and Tales from the Crypt. And so all those tying in together is always so much fun. There's one more movie that's kind of like Creep Show that I was trying to find. I can't remember the title of it, but one of the videos, one of the segments was this kid that's a bully to insects. He would rip off the fly's wings, and he'd attract them by getting fertilizer. And so he steals this specialty fertilizer that's supposed to grow things really quickly, and so the flies end up growing real quickly, and they rip his arms off. So I always thought that was pretty fun.
Nice.
But
very nice.
I've got two more. I'm trying to make it as fast as possible. Donald Sutherland, Night of the Creeps, is definitely one of my top favorites. And yeah, that's pretty much Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but with leeches. And yeah, it's such a fantastic movie. Always go back to that one. And the last one I have is Wes Craven, People Under the Stairs. A lot of people say that they hate that movie, but you know, it just shows psychological like deviations of like this family that they have an adopted daughter and they kidnap all these kids, and they'll if they hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, they'll rip out their tongues, sew their eyes and ears shut. And but yeah, there's this one segment where they end up throwing the girl to like clean her into a boiling bathtub, and it's just like, oh god, that always killed me.
There's a lot of rough parts of that movie.
Yeah, hard to watch at some points. For sure.
I love Roach. He's one of my he's my spirit animal.
Is that
that was my finale.
All right. And Tony.
Okay. So from the 5 so good, I probably so yeah, The Stuff. I fucking love The Stuff. That is like I mean, we in our old podcast we talked a bit about like movies that you could remake. I don't want to remake any of these movies, but I think The Stuff would be I think that would be remade really well now because of all the consumerism and like anti-capitalist like messages in that movie. I think that would like at this point, like all the shit.
It would age great, better than it did back then.
Yeah, They Live is another thing. They Live is but so The Stuff. I mean, exactly. Yeah, you can't go wrong. It's The Stuff. Yeah, I always want Mo. I wish there were like 3 Stuff movies. But there's only one. I think I'm a huge. You were talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night earlier. I do like 2 a lot. I 1 is a better movie, so I hesitate to put it in a so bad it's good column. But the first one is just so good. The fucking opening scene with where. In the first Silent Night, Deadly Night, where the kid is left alone with his grandpa, and his grandpa, who's been like catatonic for like 5 years, all of a sudden wakes up and is like, "Have you been good all year?" Like it just instills the fear of fucking God in Santa in him, and I like that scene is like worth watching the entire movie. And that's just the beginning. It's great. So that I love Silent Night, Deadly Night. I love The Stuff. Another so bad it's good horror movie that I love a lot is it's debatable whether it's so bad it's good, but I'm gonna say Pieces. I love Pieces a lot. It is just just like the subtitle on the poster, it's exactly what you think it is. It's just like an extremely violent, ridiculously over the top horror movie. I love it. And let me see, another really good so bad it's good movie is fucking God, there's so many to pick from. And it's also hard to differentiate. I mean, I don't know, man. I think you said Sloane, did you say Alligator was like a so bad it's good movie, or was that one of your underrated kind of like because
it was a so bad it's good, but it's underrated by a lot of people, but I hold it high.
Alligator is like the best giant animal gonna kill you movie in my opinion. Like other than Jaws, but that's a good movie. Okay, but Alligator is like Robert Forster. Before he was his career was resurrected by Tarantino. Jack Brown. He was putting his dues in Alligator. Also, I can't remember, but somebody like big produced Alligator. I can't remember who it was, but it was like weird that it didn't do as well as it. And there's like this fucking great shot in Alligator when they don't know where the alligator is, and then he just bursts out of the sewer, like he just like breaks through the fucking concrete. He's like, bam! They're like, it's so good. And then you were talking about Critters. I'd say Critters 2 is like, as far as like Critters 1 is like almost like it's like it's like it's cheesy but it's fun. Like it's like 2 is like fucking off the wall insane. Like there's a part where a man and an Easter bunny is eaten by critters in a church, and a bunch of kids find his body. Fucking hilarious. Like with all the giant critter ball at the end. fucking hilarious. Yeah, like, oh my god, it's great. Critters 3, you were talking about. Yeah, Leo's in it, but Critters 3 is not a fun watch. Like, that is not. That is a so bad it's a good movie right there. But I just don't.
That one would be worth it.
I do not watch. I do not enjoy watching Critters 3. I'll tell you what. And for my last one, Leprechaun in the Hood. You guys, you guys talk about all the bad sequels. I mean, I think actually I'm gonna try to keep this short. I met Warwick Davis once, like when I was a kid, and it was a Star Wars convention. He was signing a bunch of autographs, and somebody asked him, "What's your next movie?" And he was like, "Well, I just did this big movie that I can't really talk about. It's about a magical kid. It was Harry Potter." But he was like, "But there is one movie I can talk about that we just shot. It's about to come out in like a little less than a year." And no one fucking believed him. But he was like, "We're making another movie, but it's set in the ghetto and it's set in the hood." And he's like, and he said just like this. He's like, "And it's going to be lots of crumpets and magic and gang banging, and I'm going to drink a lot of tea."
Yeah, I
like,
love Leprechaun in the Hood.
Everyone was like laughing, haha. And then like a year later, Leprechaun in the Hood came out. And it was sick.
Ice-T takes a baseball bat out of his afro. It doesn't get better than that.
It was so good they made a second. It was incredible.
Yeah, that one was straight trash, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the Hood, not so good.
Not so good. But then, the 5 good. Just low budget. So bad they're good. Whatever. One of you said Night of the Creeps. I was totally gonna say that. I love fucking Night of the Creeps. It is so underrated. It is so underappreciated. I'm also like a big fan and kind of toot my own horn. I kind of know him, the director of that movie. And he also made Monster Squad. Fred Decker, he kills it. I love that man. Phantasm is another one, another like low budget but amazing horror movie. It's I hesitate to call it underrated. It's got like 5 fucking sequels, but it's incredible. Like there's no horror. I can't think of another movie like Phantasm. Like it is so weird.
Yeah, definitely. I that's another one I want to cover on the show. It's
ethereal and creepy and cool and just like really weird. It's like really cool. I like Phantasm a lot. I also really like Cannibal Ferox. Is another one that I think everyone kind of talks about. Cannibal Holocaust, rightfully so, because they kind of earned it. So it got banned and all they killed a bunch of fucking animals on it. So I guess they earned the right to be shocking. But Cannibal Ferox is like arguably the better movie in my opinion. It is a little hot take there. But yeah, it's basically Cannibal Holocaust without the ethical terribleness of watching Cannibal Holocaust, because you don't want to support people that murdered turtles and shit. Then, oh god, what number am I on? That's 3. Is that 4? I don't know.
That was 7, dude. You just keep going.
I just keep going. And then, I don't know. And then, fucking. I'll just say one more because I can't remember how many I'm on. I love The Hunger with David Bowie. Nobody fucking talks about that movie. I don't know why, but it's like one of my favorite like vampire movies of all time. Like it's 2 sexy ass people. It's like Susan Sarandon and David Bowie being like super fucking sexy and super like it's like they treat vampires like drug addicts in that movie, and I really like that. I like anytime they treat vampirism like drug addicts, kind of like Blade 2 does that too with the Reapers. I like that counts. I'll put Blade 2 on there too. That's my 5th pick. Blade 2.
All right.
Or your 25th, it doesn't matter.
25th, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
As far as me, I mean, you gotta have Troll 2. Like I said, I mean, it was my introduction to it, but I mean, it's just so good. And I'm actually friends with Darren Ewing on Facebook, and he posts a lot of funny stuff on Facebook. I'd say go follow him, but it's his actual real account, so don't do that. Yeah. So, but I think my favorite so bad is good all the time is got to be Lady Terminator. It's just so bonkers. It's ridiculous. It's both a perfect, exact shot for shot remake of the first Terminator movie, but it's also completely different. Has nothing to do with it whatsoever.
Yep.
And yeah, it's ridiculous. I also like Frankenhooker. That's a fun one.
Yes.
And then yeah, Tony, you mentioned Leprechaun in the Hood. Well, I got Leprechaun in Space. Definitely like that.
Basically, if it has the suffix in space, I want to watch it, and it's probably
Yep.
in my top 20.
I mean, there's a lot of them, and they're all bad too.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Because there's like Hellraiser in space, there's Jason in space, like you said. Or like, what else is there?
there was going to be a Freddy in space, but it never happened.
Darn shame.
Shame.
Lost moments. Back when space was cool.
Puppet
And
Master
then,
in space.
is there a Puppet Master in space?
No, but there ought to be. Why not? Why not?
Yeah, and then my fifth one is like the the great granddaddy of them all, the one that started it all, Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Of course.
Nice.
Come on.
That one did happen in space, so
That one's yeah. They already started there.
There's no space in it. Yeah.
Right. But
well,
there's shots of
yeah,
space.
questionable.
Yeah.
There's shots of space and there's shots of flying saucers. Okay.
And there's also Dracula.
And there's also Dracula and Tor Johnson.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's another one that got me hooked on the genre too. I saw that same time I saw Troll 2 and Evil Dead 2. I also saw, well, not Plan 9 from Outer Space, but the Ed Wood movie.
I was going to comment on Ed Wood. That's such a fantastic Johnny Depp representation of it.
Yeah, before every character he did was basically just Hunter S. Thompson.
Yeah, right.
That man's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, well, and then on to my cult list. Got They Live, of course. Evil Dead. The first Evil Dead, actually. I'm one of the few that enjoy the original one more than the second one.
I'm with you there.
Can I ask, did you watch them in the actual order, though?
No,
Or did you watch them like
I
randomly?
saw Evil Dead 2 years before I saw
I think a lot
Evil
of
Dead
people.
or Army of Darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
think-
say. Like in our generation, we probably didn't watch them in order, but
Yeah. Most people
yeah, it
saw
did
Army of
stick with
Darkness
me.
first.
well, hey, kudos to you, man, for like the original Evil Dead. It's a great movie.
Yeah, I mean, as like a legitimate horror movie, just with like a ton of problems, that it was just nonstop problems for them. They did a great job on it, and then there's also, it's so gritty and like, I don't know, you look at the makeup and it's like, yeah, that's clearly makeup. That's not even the same actor.
Yeah. Well, it's like by the end of Evil Dead 1, it's like you really feel like Ash at the end. You're like, God damn, what the fuck did I just go through?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus
and
Christ.
it's got a lot of psychological horror in it, which is my favorite kind of horror.
Yeah.
It's a psychological.
Yeah. Evil Dead 2 pumps the Three Stooges comedy up a little bit.
Yeah, which is still great.
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, and then next after that, I have Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
Nice.
Which I mean, it's not as good as the original, but I enjoy it more mostly because of Chop Top. Chop Top is
well,
my
one
man.
is like, one's like a legit horror movie, and 2 is like a fucking fever dream.
Yeah,
It's got the special.
there's all that, and there's the chainsaw duel with Dennis Hopper.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like it's fun. It's
Any
great.
movie with a chainsaw fight, I'm in.
Yeah.
So the special quote of "Dogs will hunt."
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Which Primus used in a song.
Yeah.
And then after that, you gotta have Hobo with a Shotgun, which is, I mean,
Yes.
it's so bad it's good on purpose, kind of, but they did a really good job on it, and it's just definitely one of my favorite films of all time. Like it's just so over the top, but like they put a lot of heart into it, I guess. And then last one is a movie I have unhealthy obsession with, not only them but the production company that produced it, Elijah Wood's company, SpecterVision. My favorite movie is Mandy. I love Mandy.
Yes.
And I mean, it's not old enough to really have established a cult following, but it established a cult following immediately after it came out. I mean, there's Nick Cage, but also like it only had like a few midnight releases, which is not. I mean, it's not common, but like everybody was just like jumped on it immediately,
And it's got that dueling chainsaws, so we can add that to us.
And the dueling chainsaws, which is fantastic. Which they definitely got from Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. Like absolutely.
Yeah.
Mandy is great. And SpecterVision. I'm just going to talk about SpecterVision for a minute. So SpecterVision is a production company owned by Elijah Wood, and they produce a bunch of horror movies. For anybody who doesn't know, like like this is a horror channel, so check out SpecterVision. They did Mandy, they did Color Out of Space, they did Cooties, they did a bunch. Actually, there's a new movie coming out with Nicolas Cage and Bill Moseley, and I'm blanking on the name of it, but it's got a really weird name.
Yeah, it looks insane though. Looks fucking right up my alley. Yeah.
I'm gonna look that up, but while I'm looking it up, it's
did they put out Willy's Wonderland too? Is that also SpecterVision?
No,
that's somebody else.
No,
that's RJM Media, whatever. It's the one that's always next to him.
Right. It seems to be like a premise similar to like Escape from New York.
Ooh.
Or Suicide Squad, where they send him out with like a bomb in his neck to like go do something, and if he fails, they'll like blow him up or something.
But there's also like samurais and cowboys.
There's samurais in it.
Post-apocalyptic, and he's got superpowers, and it looks
exactly
fucking absurd. Yeah.
That should be our next prompt. Who would Nicolas Cage play in the new Suicide Squad movie?
Oh, nice.
Replace one cast member with Nicolas Cage.
Prisoners of the Ghostland. That's the name of the movie. Prisoners of the Ghostland. Bree, who do you pick?
Wow. Harley Quinn. I'd love to see him in those booty shorts. I'm gonna say it right now on the table, off the fly.
Starro. Nice. I would have him play Starro.
Starro. Yeah, just
it would just be just like him,
Cage.
like in like a mocap suit. Like it wouldn't be like finished effects. It would just be. I
couldn't see that. Sorry. So bad.
But dude, for the second Ghost Rider movie, I love it or hate it. He like shot the whole movie like he didn't need to do this, but he just to get him into character, he like would paint a skull on his face. And so every scene where he was being Ghost Rider, he would just have a big like skull painted on his face, and he'd be like, "Yeah!" like yelling at people. And apparently there's like a whole cut of that movie somewhere, like the director has, where he's like, I just didn't touch with effects, where it's just Nicolas Cage yelling at people in their face, like, was like, and I'm like, dude, I want that fucking cut of that movie. I want that.
God, yes. I just love Nicolas Cage. I loved Willy's Wonderland, just like you mentioned. Yeah. God, so good. But I don't want to get off topic, so.
Yeah, we are running real low on time, so I'm gonna go ahead and tease our first movie that we will review that everybody here will be part of. And actually, sorry, Daniel won't be part of that, but he will be in the next one. Sorry, Daniel. Let me just tease that real quick.
Okay.
I'm gonna like pull a Sloane here. No! I'm gonna come back with something. This one right here. Yes. Oh, good show. I'm trying to talk over the video, but I think we did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I can't believe that your first movie is gonna have a roughed up old lady, and I don't get to be part of it. You know that's my favorite type of horror movie. I just like the roughed up old ladies.
It's just hilarious that like a zombie like comes out and not wanting brains, he wants cake.
Yep.
Well, he wants his fucking cake, dude.
Yeah, he just wants his cake. Fun fact.
Hey, listen, you're not going to get brains from an old lady necessarily, but you know full well that she makes a damn good cake.
That's true.
She's fucking better. So Bree, this was your pick. So I mean, you already pointed it out, but what movie is this?
So this is
why did you pick it?
This is Creepshow. It's one of my favorite movies. I'm a huge Tom Savini fan. Just as a side tidbit, so I went through what's known as a basic instructor course, which means I just talk a lot, which will be evident anytime I'm on the show. I talk a lot. And so we had to give these speeches and presentations, and one of the ones I did was on horror movie makeup and special effects. And so one of the neat videos is
We weren't sure what movie to start out with, so there was a group chat with all of us, and I was thinking, what should we do? And then, you came up with that idea, and then Sloane was just immediately, we should do a Creep Show. And
amazing
then
movie.
It's a
it was
perfect pick.
unanimous.
Top favorite
Thank
of
you.
all time.
Thank you.
Yep. So that'll be the first one, and then Daniel will return for the one after that, which will be Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and then we'll just keep going from there. Other movies that I'm thinking about covering pretty soon, like I said, Sloane mentioned. What was the one that you mentioned again?
Oh, Skinned Deep.
Skin Deep. Yes.
Mhm.
That one looks like a lot of fun. Going to do Mandy soon. I have a friend on Facebook who I've been chatting with, who was in a series of movies by this one guy. I'm blanking on his name, but she was in a movie called Swamp Zombies 2, which he showed me, and it was just hilarious. This director, he's basically almost the next Neil Breen. I mean, it's hard to get to that level, but he gets close. So Swamp Zombies 2 will be coming up. We'll probably conclude this here. Thanks to all of y'all for joining me. This is our second podcast, all of us together. The first one, Movie So Bad That Good, Midnight Cult Classics at Camp. Check that out. Check the Facebook group out. Check out the other shows on this channel by Infamous Horror. Check out my buddy Johnny. He does he'll be on here a lot. He does a show called I Don't Give a Flick, which is about film, different categories of film, talking about cinematography or favorite directors. I've been on half of those episodes, so check me out on that. Any of y'all want to plug anything or shout outs?
I got this is a little early, but I got a movie coming to Shudder next year.
Oh wow.
Called Sorry About the Demon, and I play the titular demon, the voice of the demon.
Nice.
So, whenever the fuck that comes out, I don't have a date for it, but apparently next year sometime. Check out Shudder. Your boy be talking weird.
Oh yeah. And also, I mentioned earlier, Tony, before you joined, said that we went to go see The Room last weekend in Dallas, and we got to hang out with Greg Sestero, who I'm going to try to get on here. He told me that he has never seen Troll 2 before, so I'm going to get him to
that would be a fun
Troll
one.
2 with us. But he has a new movie coming out called Miracle Valley. He's actually touring that movie right now as we speak. Although this episode won't come out until weeks after we're recording this, so he'll be done with it. But it's called Miracle Valley. It's about a cult guy who stumbles into a cult. He wrote this movie, directed it, and he starred in it. So check that out. And so again, thanks for all joining. Thanks everybody for watching this. Hope you enjoy the show. Like I said, we'll just be making fun of bad movies and talking about the good cult classics. And I guess that'll be it. Have a good one.